Welcome back to Clear Cut. The U.S. ambassador to Israel is firing back after the Palestinian Authority president called him a son of a dog. David Friedman is calling the remarks anti-Semitic. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas made the comments in an address on Monday. During that same speech, Abbas also took aim at political rival Hamas. I-24 News correspondent Emily Rose takes a look at what is behind the split between Hamas and Fatah.
A nail in the coffin of Palestinian reconciliation. The Palestinian Authority has named its culprit behind the attempt to kill Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah.
The officers, the soldiers, and other members, after the sinful and despicable attack that was carried out against them by the Hamas movement in the Gaza Strip.
Hamas fired back and said Abbas' threats to impose new sanctions on the Strip were empty.
We strongly condemn these statements and threats by Abu Mazen towards Gaza and the Hamas movement, since it restricts any opportunity towards reaching unity and reconciliation and impacts the rise of the national project.
Fatah controls the West Bank, while Hamas rules the Gaza Strip. The two are rivals. But what's behind the rift? Tension between Fatah and Hamas began in 2005 after the death of Yasser Arafat. After the Hamas victory in the 2006 elections, relations deteriorated into sporadic factional fighting. In 2007, it all came to a head when Hamas chased Abbas loyalists out of the Gaza Strip in a violent takeover. Since then, several attempts at reconciliation have been made. All have floundered. An October deal was signed between the two, but never came to fruition on the ground. The Palestinian Authority is vying for security control of Gaza, and reconciliation seems nowhere in sight. As rumors of Abbas's failing health circulate in the West Bank, Hamas also faces internal divisions in the Strip, trying to contain Salafist Islamist groups and combating the Islamic State in the Sinai. Some say this could be an attempt by Salafist factions to drag Hamas into a war with Israel. Still, the PLO retains hope for a renewed reunion.
We've been through more difficult times before. Maybe the reconciliation efforts are failing because they are concentrating on one issue, which is the struggle over power and how to divide the power of authority, which is under occupation.
But so far, the words are not enough. The two factions continue to go their separate ways. Emily Rose, I-24 News.
Joining us now is Ryan Mauro, a national security analyst with the Clarion Project. Ryan, good to have you with us. Ryan, the recent assassination attempt on the Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Hamdallah, well, that severely damaged any possibility of reconciliation between Fatah and Hamas. But safe to say there was never much of a real chance for a unity government there anyway. Would you agree?
Yeah, for the most part. Sometimes they are able to get a little bit closer, or maybe I should say hate each other a bit less. But I mean, I remember going back to 2014 when in the West Bank, Hamas was trying to overthrow the Palestinian Authority. They put together a plot involving dozens of operatives based in Turkey. And so when we hear about these types of plots, let's remember that Turkey has made the conscious decision to help Hamas destroy the Palestinian Authority. Hamas is a proxy of foreign powers.
Well, Ryan, with regards to Hamas being a proxy of Turkey, also a proxy of Iran, as it's believed, where does that leave things in terms of any kind of peace deal? The Trump administration supposedly working on some final details of a proposal with the Saudis, but if Hamas and Fatah are not able to come to any kind of united front, then who represents the will of the Palestinian people? Is there any point in having any kind of discussion anyway?
It's worth having the discussion in order to say that you're trying, and in order to pressure some of the Palestinian factions, whether it's Fatah or Hamas. And according to the leaks out there, apparently progress is being made with the help of the Saudis for a peace plan. Now, I don't think it's viable because the Palestinians, the Turks, Qatar, and Iran are all spoilers. You have to have everybody on board, and we're not going to get to a point where you can have a peaceful two-state solution until Palestinian society goes through a detox of radical Islamic propaganda, some of which is pushed forth even by the Palestinian Authority, even though they're supposedly secular. But they're still pushing the anti-Semitic themes and promoting jihad that sustain this conflict. But I think in terms of messaging, there has to be an ideological offensive that makes it clear that Hamas is not a nationalist organization and the Palestinian people are suffering from their leaders, not from the West.
Well, with regards to jihad as supported by the Palestinian Authority, the Taylor Force Act, which aims to slash U.S. aid to the Palestinian Authority over its pay-for-slay program, its payments to convicted terrorists and their families, that is now stalled in the Senate despite having bipartisan support. There's some hesitation that cutting off U.S. funding would destabilize the PA, leading it to collapse and be replaced in the West Bank with terror groups like Hamas. What are your thoughts on that?
At a certain point, you have to allow other societies to go through the rough and tumble that they necessarily have to. Hamas is more popular in the West Bank than they are in the Gaza Strip. And so eventually there's going to have to be a conflict. That's inevitable. And if you want a new alternative to rise, there has to be a certain level of freedom that allows these different ideas to be pushed forth instead of the U.S. just propping up the Palestinian Authority. And so I think even beyond that, they just don't deserve our taxpayer money. We work hard for that. And when they're pushing anti-American themes that then indirectly even get Americans killed, not worth it.
No, certainly not. Understatement there. Ryan Mauro from the Clarion Project, thank you. Always good to have you on the show. All right, coming up, another explosion in Texas. The new incident linked to the suspected serial bomber in Austin. And trouble for the former president of France. The corruption allegations with ties to Libya's former dictator.